Hello and welcome to the Flipping and Wholesaling Houses in New York show. I am Michael Pinter, where I teach you how to start flipping or wholesaling houses in New York, or if you're already doing it, how to grow your business. So I get a question a lot, and it's an interesting question, and it works in some places, and I want to talk about what it means. And the question is, can you use an end buyer's money for your EMD, for your deposit, right? The idea of this is that, hey, I'm wholesaling the house, found the seller wants, let's say, $20,000. I found the buyer already who's going to pay me more. Can I use the buyer's deposit to fund my deposit so I don't have to put up the money? So the real answer is yes, but that buyer really, really has to trust you. So I happen to have buyers who trust me and will release the deposit out of escrow. I did it once, I'm doing it another time. But if a buyer doesn't really trust you, if you don't have a relationship with that buyer, the chance of him agreeing to that, I would say, is a big fat freaking zero. Because you got to understand, the way it typically works is both of these deposits are going to be held in an escrow, attorney escrow account, and if the deal doesn't close, they're going to get it back. So the buyer has to trust that the deal is going to close, and that if something goes crazy, that you're going to give them the money back, right? There isn't this possibility. So, when you're new, I would say the chance of this happening is zero. Unless you partner with somebody like me, or somebody who has good relationships with buyers, where it might be possible. But in the truth is, if you're partnering with somebody like me, I could probably put up the EMD myself. So it depends on the situation, but it's very, very hard. And let's just understand the legality of it. Now, it's a little different when you're dealing in the other 29 states, where you're dealing with a title company that's changing, that is holding the deposit. I mean, in general, the way deposits work, EMD stands for earnest money deposit. In general, the way deposits work in other states, they're not really necessary. They're usually a nominal amount, $100, $500, maybe 1% if you have something big. But in New York, it's a big part of the contract, right? Title companies do not run the real estate transactions in New York. Attorneys do. Title company is basically a service provider that it does two things. They make sure all the liens are paid off, and they make sure all the taxes are paid off, which is why doing subject to deals in New York is very, very difficult, if not impossible. Because if you go to a title company and say, hey, they're keeping the mortgage here, they're going to tell you, there's a due on sale clause. And regardless of all the great people who do subject to, let me explain what subject to is. I didn't explain it. I apologize. Subject to is when you buy a property and you buy it subject to the existing loan. So the seller says, I just want out. Maybe I'm late on my loan. You come to them and say, I'll get you current and I'll deal with this for a while. And it can work in 49 states because most title companies don't really care about this. They will do it. They will do a subject to. But in New York, the title company's job is basically to pay off the liens, and it's very hard to find somebody willing to do it. And then, of course, the sellers are represented by an attorney, and the seller's attorney is never going to agree to allow them to do that, because you're basically saying you're selling a property and you have somebody else being responsible for payments that are on your credit report. I think any attorney that would allow his client to do that, in the event that the guy who bought the house subject to stop making payments, would probably be subject to a malpractice lawsuit. So where the hell am I going? How did I get subject to? Oh, a title company. So in New York, all the money is held by an attorney, not by a title company, and therefore what happens is it's got to be held in an IOLA escrow account, right? Those are things you can't screw with. You screw with an escrow account, then you're going to lose your law license. So it's not like the attorney can decide, oh yeah, I'll just use it for the other deposit. It's not so simple. It's hard to do unless the buyer says, I release the funds, you can use them, right? Or sometimes they'll write the check directly to the seller, right? That happens. But again, you need a very trusting buyer that trusts you, that nothing's going to go wrong, and then if something does go wrong, you're going to work it out, right? So I do it occasionally, but only because I have buyers who I've done a lot of, I've sold them a lot of properties. They want to get in my good graces. If I'm short on cash and I have a big EMD, and I agree to sell them assign the deal to them at a certain price, sometimes they will write me a check directly to the seller's attorney. They'll write a check directly to the seller's attorney to be used as my EMD and basically release those funds by writing the check. So it's not a simple thing. It's not easy to do in New York. you have to develop a very, very good relationship with the buyer to make it happen. Now I am 5 minutes into what is going to be a 10-minute thing. So what else should we talk about? So you might ask, what's the point of it? Right? The point. Listen, here's the point. I'm going into a lot of deals. I have a bunch of contracts I'm going into now, and sometimes these EMDs, the deposit standard EMD, earnest money deposit that you give on contract in New York is 10%. I don't usually give 10%, but sometimes sellers attorneys will not budge, and they will say, maybe you don't give 10%, but you give 5%. I have that going on right now. I'm buying property like $500,000, and they will not allow me to put it less than $25,000. So I'll do it, but you've got to understand, some of these things take a long time. If I put significant deposits down, I have a lot of money sitting there not doing anything for me. So it's better if you can get the deposit down, and it's even better if theoretically if you can use somebody else's money to deposit, because having many hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting out there can hurt the cash flow when deals are taking a long time. So it's just something that we want to do, right? It would be great, or if I have a buyer lined up even before I go into contract, I would love to use his money for the EMD so I don't have to put more money sitting there. But as I said, it is complicated. Now, what the hell else am I going to talk about for 4 minutes? Sitting on the freaking Seaford Oyster Bay Expressway going to the northern state east. I think that's where I'm going. When I'm doing these Facebook Lives, I can't use Waze, and I don't know where the hell I'm going sometimes. It's the problem. I think I'm going to northern state east. All right, maybe we'll cut this one short. I mean, I'd love to go 10 minutes, but I'm drawing a complete blank, which we'll get to in a second because I need your help with suggestions. So I hope this was helpful. If you're interested in all the ways I can help you, go to howtoflipnewyork.com. If you are interested in finding out more about one-on-one coaching I offer, go to coaching.howtoflipnewyork.com. What else? If you are watching on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're watching on any media channel, please click the thumbs up. The likes really help my SEO. That's how Facebook and YouTube and every social media algorithm works, in that I hope I'm going the right way. I think I am. In that when more people like a video, they show it to more people who they think would be interested by it. And these are the kinds of things that are very helpful to me, because I want more people to see my videos, and a lot more people have been seeing them lately. So thank you very, very much for all the likes. But here's the important one. I don't know what the hell to talk about in most of these videos going forward. I know everybody doesn't see every video, but for me, if I spoke about something like 4 weeks ago, the thought of speaking about it again seems crazy to me, even though that's not logical. So keep the comments coming. You do not have to ask a question about the video you're watching. Ask a question about anything. I try to get to all comments within a couple of days. And if it's something simple, I'll just reply with an answer. If it's something that I have covered before, I might send you links to a video or multiple videos that answer your question. And if it's something new, I'll do a new video on it like this. So thank you very, very much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. And I think the Northern State's coming out perfect.